announcements. The first announcement posted. Posting live stream announcement. There we go. Okay, so we should be live. Let me also open this up on Twitch just to make sure everything's working. Twitch TV, Resonite. Okay, we should be live. Yeah. Okay, we are live.
Seems like everyone.
Oh, and I hit a thing.
It seems like everyone's hiding back here for some reason.
Why are you hiding in the bushes? Why is everyone like
Why are you
out
down
here?
there? Come on.
Come out. You know, come over here. There we go. Hello. Hello everyone. Hello Kundalach. Hello call on Twitch. Yes. Bush camera. We are coming to you from the bushes apparently today. Actually no, you are coming from the bushes. The audience was hiding.
From the bush.
Yeah, the audience was hiding in the bush. I don't know why, but like we lured everyone out. Hello everyone. Hello War Theory. Hello. And
hello.
Yes. Call on Twitch was enjoying the Bush's character development, yes. Also, hello Deathhammer. Hello everyone. This is another episode of the Resonance. This is the 6th one. And this one, I'm actually streaming from the US. I'm in like Washington right now. I'm visiting here, like, my boyfriend. I'm visiting, some more friends. I should have a cutie somewhere near. Pledge. Did it come through? Yes. I think he's recording me as well. Oh, thank you for the gift sub, Gab. So yeah, we have a bunch of people. Sarah's actually, you're gonna be here tomorrow. Sarah's kind of packing right now as well, so like he's maybe a bit distracted. My setup is a bit different. Oh, thank you for the subscription, like so, and I will check the Froox out there. Also, check the Froox out there. No, the travels were very unsafe. Like we crashed and died.
Yeah. I can't wait.
No, thank you. So no, the travels were good. I kind of slept through most of the trip, like a long flight, like I usually do. So like, I fell asleep like somewhere like above Europe, and then woke up like when we were like above Canada. So it was most of the time skip, which was kind of nice.
Fast travel.
Fast travel, yes. But yeah, and I stole a hotel room like when I was staying a night in Prague. I might spawn it, maybe. But yeah, so this is for anyone like of you like who don't know, the Resonance. It's sort of like a combination of office hours and a podcast where you can ask us any questions about Resonite, about its past, future, technology, philosophy, like whatever you want to know. We'll try to answer as best as we can, but just like a little bit of like a podcast element where we like, well, especially me, I tend to like ramble about stuff and be like, this is like what we're doing, this is why we're doing things this way, and so on. So some of the questions, they might get like very sort of like off tangent, like answers as well to kind of give you more high level insight into Resonite. Also, oh my god, thank you so much, Talibit, for all the gifts, and thank you to Royborg as well. Wow. And also check the Froox out there. Shout out to Sire for helping me with photos this there. Yes. Yeah, really like you've been helping out with the texture thing. The texture force thing is technically Sire's fault. He's like I wanted him like this literally takes like a little like like few minutes to ride with this new system, so I'm just gonna add it.
Yeah, also we might want to turn off the popping for the chat.
Popping? Oh right, like I forget the popping. So let me where is it? Sounds. There we go. Message sound.
There we go.
There we go.
I actually
so should be good. So is our audio coming out okay? Like, because I'm using a different headset. I'm like Crossbar right now. I usually use the Viper I. I'm using its microphone.
Yeah, so you sound fine to me.
Yeah, do I sound like okay to everyone on the stream, or our audio levels okay?
Can you hear us?
They're saying audio is okay. I think that's good enough, as long as you can understand. I'll just know like we can like tweak it a bit. So just to get us started, if you have any questions, oh my god, we've got so many pinned messages because of the all the subscriptions. Me when I invite a pin a questions board. Yes, Shadowx, you have invaded a questions board. So if you want your questions to show up on the thing, make sure you know to add a question mark in it. So that way it like pops, and we'll be sure to get to it. If you do have like any follow-up questions or clarification, please add context to your follow-up question, because sometimes you cannot get to it later and like we cannot lose the context. But yeah, you can like ask us anything about Resonite, how things are kind of going and so on. And when we're just kind of free time, we're gonna ramble. I also see like how long I'll keep this one, because like of the different setup and like visiting over here, there's like people around. So I might like make this one shorter, maybe. I'll see kind of how it goes. Um, but yeah, like we should be like ready to start like accepting questions or whatever like you'd like to know.
Yeah.
So far there's like no actual questions. So I guess just like all about like before we even get like done with the Resonite stuff, is like I hope like everybody is excited like for the holidays, for like Christmas and like New Year's and so on. I'm kind of
Yes.
excited. I know.
I'm very excited. I'm very
Yes.
excited to be coming to Seattle and stuff and seeing everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna be like lots of Resonite people. I'm very excited too. I was actually the first one to arrive, because like I'm like international, and like the flight was cheapest like on the day, and I will like pick up Beijing. We have like two more people arriving today, and then like a bunch more, and people are gonna be trickling in. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It also means like it's gonna be kind of quieter. You know, it's gonna be a little bit quieter, like with updates and everything. But I think that's kind of okay for the holidays. Also, Cap is asking, can you believe it? Christmas just 3 days away. Yes, it's soon. It's so weird. Like literally a few days ago. Um, literally a few days ago, like I was like, it felt like the travel is like months away, and I'm like, okay, like I guess it's time for it. Um, so we're actually getting some more questions. Stefan, are you getting rest and doing fun things for yourself for the holidays? Yes, I'm gonna pretty much like staying with a bunch of like Resonate people. Like I've been actually kind of working on like a fun side project, like one kind of just like a hobby thing. Um, uh, is I started to kind of working on some of the Gaussian spot things, so like there might be something coming with that. Just no specific promises yet, but I might be kind of toying around with some of the code around those, seeing kind of how it works. How about you? I mean, like I know you're gonna be here as well, so
Yeah, I might like turn my attention to some more of my like personal projects maybe. Um, just over like some winter break, I've been working on like a thing to get iron face tracking for the Quest Pro, working on Linux, which I mentioned, I think, was it like one or two ago? I think I mentioned that on,
yeah,
can't
like we
remember.
were talking about it a bit. It might have been the last one
Yeah,
actually, maybe, or the previous one. Yeah.
yeah, one or two streams ago I was mentioning that, and I might try and finish that up with some, now that I will have a little bit of extra time on my hands.
Yeah. I really like Linux users like would like that, like just be able to run it. Like Glitch. He likes.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's around. He uses Arch, by the way.
I use Endeavor OS, by the way.
I don't think he heard, because I haven't summoned him that way. Anyway, El Tremendo Lagarto is asking, love Resonite. Is there any ETA for Quest 2 native version? End of the 2025, mayhaps. Right now we unfortunately don't have any ETA. Right now the focus is, on the kind of the big performance update. Once it kind of goes through, that's going to make it more feasible, but there's still going to be a fair amount of work. So we're not sure. And right now, I don't feel confident giving any sort of like estimates. There's a bunch of sort of like prerequisite work needs to happen to the client. We'll probably need to switch, to the custom rendering engine before that happens as well. So once these things go through, um, I think that's gonna make it easier to have like firmer estimate. Like be like I feel like like within this time frame we should be able to do it. But right now we need to get these things through, and then it's gonna sort of clear up things. We get like clear data on like what is needed for it to happen. Well, we kind of know roughly, but also like there's a lot of kind of technical things. One of the things that Quest needs, because it's a mobile platform, it cannot handle as much as your PC can. It has much lower performance. It's much like lower like amount of memory. there's a lot of kind of hardware limitations. So the optimizations, they're like crucial for it to happen. But also it needs a system for sort of like a content segregation, because like, even with the best optimizations, your desktop GPU, you can throw at it like, something, you can throw at it a model like, that has like 1 million triangles and kind of like it eats that for breakfast because like it has a lot of, raw power, but the mobile GPU doesn't have that. So if you throw, the same model on it, it's gonna choke. Which means like you need a way to kind of like segregate the content to make sure you only run optimized like content specifically for the mobile platform, and you cannot do as much as you can on your PC. So having a system for that is going to be also like one of the things needed to support those platforms natively. Next question is Lexa was asking question: what is the reason for daytime and time spent input nodes for workers being blank? That's pretty much because we haven't implemented the UI for them. Any data types, we need to actually like implement handling for them so it properly generates the UI. If they're blank, it means like that just hasn't been done yet. Uh, if there's no, make sure like there's a GitHub issue. Like this should be relatively easy to add. Like I think we don't have a proper editors for those. They're kind of like weird in the
Yeah.
inspector because it's kind of reusing the same ones. But yeah, like
Yeah.
if there's a GitHub issue, like we should be able to get to it at some point. Um, Apple Butter 180 is asking, question: is there a plan to have standardized release cadence for client headless updates? At some point, yes. One of the things we would want to do with that to kind of streamline the process is implement our system, for sort of like version updating, version tracking called Molecule. Right now, whenever like we release, there's like a lot of kind of manual steps, which makes it more kind of error prone, and it makes it kind of harder, kind of like schedule things and so on. Have multiple sort of branches that we can be testing in parallel and then approving those changes and so on. Once we have that system in place, that's going to provide us, the necessary tooling to be able to do something like that. And at that point, like we can start being talking about like maybe like we're going to be releasing updates every Tuesday by like default. And we have all these branches where it's like the features that are being worked on. Once we're sure like these are good, they get merged in. And if they make it for Tuesday, it's going to get released, bearing any sort of like emergency hotfixes and so on. So it's going to happen at some point. We do need to work on some of the tooling to enable that first, and also just remove a lot of the manual work because right now we can like whenever I make a release, I have to collect all the change notes and um all the like credits for everyone, and I have to be this change and this change and kind of track everything. It's just kind of like a lot of manual work, and sometimes I make mistakes with that. So having that system automated is going to save a lot of kind of time and also like sanity as well. Plus enable these things. It's also like actually one of the things I also like ran into is since we don't have like one pre-release branch on Steam, um, if we want to like test multiple things at the same time, it makes it a lot more difficult. So it's like sometimes we're like, we cannot start testing this thing, and it kind of halts the development of this thing because this thing is being tested, and it just causes all kinds of issues. So having a system where we can be like, this is the branch for testing this feature and this feature and this feature, it opens up like a lot more options and streamlines the development. Kabiyoru, is it known that Twitch stream has an audience that Resonite works fine in a browser? Um, I mean, I would check if there's a GitHub issue. Like, I think it's like last time I checked, like it worked. The one thing is like if you pause it, like you cannot pause streams, but when you pause a stream in Resonite, it keeps playing it, but it just mutes the audio. So just make sure like it's not paused. Even when
Yeah.
it's unpaused and you're still not getting the audio, like make sure there's a GitHub issue and we can look at it. Next question is from Hundelaj. Headset native follow-up. Is there plans to support ARM with the new rendering engine? Yes, like the new rendering engine should support ARM. It is being based on the Bevy rendering engine, which is like a heavily like multi-platform. So supporting that should not be an issue. It also depends, kind of a little bit like which platform, but overall, yes, we want it to support like a wide variety of platforms. Next question is Navy 3001. Froox, what do you think about the hit by a bus syndrome? I don't think it's a syndrome. Like it's, I mean, it's a term like kind of like I think like you're referring to like the bus factor, which is like something that's something like like in a lot of companies, engineering is like how many if this particular person got hit by a bus and they're gone, does the company collapse? Um, and it's it's definitely like a problem. It's gonna be like a difficult one because you want to have things in place so like other people can take over even like in such cases. And one of the things like we've been doing, like especially like a lot of other people on the team, is trying to like increase that number, essentially increase how many people need to get hit by a bus for things to go down. Usually, like when it happens, it's still like gonna be like significant. Um, what's the word? It's gonna be like significant, setback to the company. But there's like ways to recover, and like we've been like making sure that like more people have kind of access to things. So like if something happened, the the Resonite as a whole can kind of like survive. It's also like useful like because like sometimes it doesn't have to be that drastic. It can be like somebody's not available or somebody's sick or something like that. So we make sure multiple engineers have like access to things, and part of it is also like making documentation so people know how stuff works. Because if something goes down and then the other engineers don't know how it works, that's gonna make it harder for them to like make sure it recovers. But if they at least have access to the resources, they can still figure things out. It just might take longer. So um, it is like like a challenging problem, but it's something like we're aware of and like we're trying to like mitigate as much as possible. Next question is from Troyborg. I think I remember Geen saying something about a source engine where it will allow them to have like dedicated windows and make compatible builds or something. I think that would also mean working on Android builds as well. Yes. Yeah, the engines pretty much should work like on multiple platforms. Since it's being like based out of the Bevel rendering engine, you can check that one out and see what platforms it supports. I think it was all like based on like WebGPU or WGPU. I kind of forget the name of the tech exactly, but it's one that's
Mm.
very like multi-platform. Next question is for Syro. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah. So Grand UK says, question for Cyro. Have you had much luck getting your Vive Pro I working on Linux? Kinda, sorta. I was initially trying to figure out the USB protocol to turn on the iChip, and I ended up stumbling across someone else's work, which I then adapted into C Sharp. Um, and so far, I've only been able to turn on the iChip. I haven't really been able to communicate with the device to like make it actually work. uh, there's like a bunch of proprietary like crap in the way, and I'm like, so far it does not work yet, but I would like to get it working, and I might bring just the headset with me to Seattle so I can keep working on it. Um, I will definitely give updates on that as I come across them, though.
That's like one of those like things is like takes a while to figure out, and you just need to be poking around long enough to like find a good way to get it to work.
Yeah.
So the next question is from World Theory 2013. Protoflex question: is there a way to use a multi-node like ValueMax multi that can omit inputs from its calculations based on a boolean, like taking nullable inputs? So there's not like a node that would kind of combine those. It's kind of depends. If you wanted to just like no, like the boolean, you could like do like a call as, but like we don't have like one that would just bake that functionality. This is something you have to compose from multiple nodes. It must be like easier like once we kind of get like some of the collection support because it can just be like have a collection of inputs and then like filter all the ones that are don't fit certain condition and then find a max from the resulting list. But right now like you cannot do it in a single node. Next question is Gundala. She's asking, do you ever use mods as a reference for adding potential features? Sometimes there's, I think I've only done it once, at least. So, like one of them was when we originally, um, like implemented the PDF support. And somebody made like a mod that essentially added like the PDFium. I don't know how to pronounce it. PDFium
Right.
library.
Yeah, I think it's PDFium.
PDFium. They use like the library to like generate textures, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this library has like a really nice API. And I kind of like wrote the implementation differently, so it's kind of more performant and it's more like well integrated with Resonite. Um, and but essentially I used it like to be like, okay, like this is it gave me like an idea how complex that is, because before then I haven't really dug into the library. I was like, maybe it has complex API, you need to like do this, I need to do that, and I don't like, until I actually look into it, I don't know. So I wasn't sure like if it's gonna be like task that takes like one day, or it takes like 1 week or 2 weeks or a month. And then I like look at the code and I was like, okay, this is very simple API. We can just fill texture data, from this. This is literally gonna take me like 1 day to implement, and and that essentially made me decide to like make official implementation. We didn't like use any of the code from the mod, but like it helped like that way, just seeing gauge the complexity of the task and seeing this is how you interact with the API of the library. Um, there's been a few things like where somebody like when people like found like specific kind of bug fixes. So I think like I used it in those cases where I was like, okay, like this function's calling this, or this check is wrong, so I just kind of swap it. Um, so yeah, it does happen like sometimes. Uh, Next question is Jack the Fox author. I really enjoyed the short piece last week where you've talked about your plans for tool classes last week. I think this is going to be pretty powerful. But did it make me wonder, do you have other plans on what do you want to change about the tools? I'm mainly thinking about the way secondary action. It does some things feel a bit like third mouse button plus issues with quest controller. I was kind of wondering if facet anchors could make that obsolete. So for some things, yes. There's like just having the things on the UI that's gonna make it so we can free up some of the buttons. But for some of the tools, you do kind of need two interactions, because like you don't have to be like constantly switching modes. Say something like the dev tool, because with the dev tool, you want to be able to differentiate when you want to select an object versus when you want to interact with a gizmo. And if it's like if you have to like um, if you have to constantly toggle it back and forth, like imagine like I want to be like I want to interact and I want to select something, I have to click, click, click. It adds like a lot of kind of operations, versus if you have two buttons, you just use those two buttons like very quickly. One thing I want to do is sort of like rework, because the original mechanism for the original sort of like base set of inputs, the primary and secondary and so on, it was based on the Vive controller. Um, and the problem with the Vive controller is the secondary, it's the touchpad, which means you actually have to press it to use it. So the original kind of like in the original mechanism for like interacting with inputs, it has those two coupled because they are kind of coupled, on the controller. With the newer controllers, have a joystick, and you can kind of use the secondary. I can like use it without having to press, the joystick. Uh, but like the sort of abstracted system doesn't support that, and that's one of the things. Since more controllers now support it, is like I want to rework it a bit so I can kind of decouple it. But we still also need to support the Vive vans, because some people still use those, and we cannot just be like if you have those, you cannot use Resonite. So making like input bindings that work across wide range of controllers and a wide range of tools is very painful, because sometimes people are like, oh, just do this thing, for like for the index controllers, and we're like, well, if we do this, then like we break support for everybody who has Vive vans, and we can't do that. And and when somebody makes a mod, they don't care, they just make it for their controllers, but we do need to care about that, and makes it like a little more difficult on our end. But it's something I want to kind of like do like another pass over, and be like how can we kind of improve these mechanisms to like give more kind of granularity. Um, but like it's something I kind of like into and think about, like work out all the impacts of every change that might happen on all kinds of controllers. It used to be like all more difficult too, because there are some headsets which had even fewer buttons than Vive vans. Like they would literally just have like a touchpad, so like we had to do crazy things like be like, okay, this part of the touchpad is like this action, this part of the touchpad is this action, and it just makes making like control schemes just very painful. Like every time I see a controller that has more buttons, I'm like, yay, more buttons. It makes things easier. We don't have to like make like kind of multimodal. We don't have to make them like multimodal. Control schemes which are very confusing to people. Next question. Ozzy is asking, when audio gets around to being reworked for optimization update, is there anything extra you'd like to add or allow? Yes. So there's actually a few things. One of the things that this is actually related, to me streaming, because right now I switched Syro, to broadcast, and I'm also like in broadcast. If the audio was spatialized, you would essentially be hearing from my viewpoint. So like you would which would be reversed from your perspective on the stream. The reason for that is because with the current audio system in Unity, you can only have one listen. So I could also switch it. I could switch it so the audio is rendered from the viewpoint of camera. We do have that functionality. The problem is I would also be hearing Sire from the viewpoint of the camera. I would be hearing from the right, and like that like messes with my brain like really bad. So like I don't use it. So with the new audio system, the goal is to make it so we can like render audio from multiple points. So we can actually have like one that's being rendered for the user, and it's another one that's being rendered, for the camera, and it's being outputted to a different audio device. With that, we could even have, my voice actually spatialized. So like, like you would hear all of us, proper like spatialized from the perspective of the camera, even though I'm the one streaming. And you could also use it for other like fun things, like make like walkie-talkie or virtual microphone that actually records spatialized audio, based on where it is in the world. And if the walkie-talkie, like you put it like near your mouth, you can like talk to it, and it's gonna come out from the other end. And on the other end, you'll be able to hear like all the sounds near it as well. Do stuff like that. So and the design I have in mind for the audio system, would allow for that. It's essentially be like these are the listeners, render the audio, for all these points in the world. The other part I would also like to add is ambisonic support. It's actually kind of related to some of the stuff I've been playing with because um, I've been adding general support for spherical harmonics into Froox engine. And spherical harmonics is a mechanism for sort of like encoding spatial, like directional information. Encoded like on a surface of a sphere, and it's used for lighting data. Like for example, the ambient lighting that's used in here that actually uses second order spherical harmonics. For ambisonics, that's sort of like positional audio that also uses spherical harmonics, where in the individual audio channels they're actually coefficients, and then you just use the spherical harmonics math to decode what audio should you be getting at a certain point or certain direction. And since the support already like implemented the actual raw like decoding, it's gonna be very trivial to add. There's some other things as well. Like eventually, probably not gonna do it for MVP. I would like to add like support for Steam audio actually handling audio bounces and like occlusion and so on based on the word geometry, because that way like if somebody's behind a wall or in a different room, like the sound's gonna change and it's gonna add a lot of realism. But it's a lot of extra work, so might not do it for the performance update because it's not necessary. The main goal is usually like feature parity first, so we can get to the performance update as fast as possible. But some of the things that are like easy enough to add, like they kind of sprinkle them in along the way. There's also like some other possibilities, like adding more kind of shapes. So like instead of just like a sphere, you can have like audio that goes in a cone, like other things. Because once we kind of control how the audio is rendered, we can just plug whatever function we want to handle the attenuation of the audio. So there might be like some things around there as well. Next thing, Grandre Cake, could we get some channel point redeems on the Resonite Twitch channel? We could probably set up some at some point. Probably to figure out like what can we like offer there and so on. Like that's something we probably have to like discuss. I don't quite know like which ones would we do right now. There's just something to think about. Could be just like silly ones too, but like it could be also like functional ones. Next question, Khunlach. The metrics website classifies some clients as chat client. How does it detect client as such? This is self-reported. So the every time like a client connects, to the cloud, it actually says I'm this type of client. So for those, what I like we don't actually have official chat client right now, but like I kind of added it because I know like community members are making some, and we eventually would like to have like an official one too. So some of them like that the community are making, they're probably making it so it reports as a chat client, and then it shows up in the metrics. Which if if you're making like one, I do recommend using that one so it's kind of properly classified. Next question is Navy 3001. Are you guys planning on sponsoring another YouTube once Net9 clients is out? So yes, in general, like it's not specifically for Net9, but like we do have. Ooh, I'm actually losing a lot of bandwidth right now. Can you hear me fine? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, everything kind of just went really blocky. I'm like on Wi-Fi with Quest Pro. um. So we do have like plans, to kind of involve some more YouTubers because when um when we originally did like the sponsorships, we're essentially looking, what kind of return on investment we get for those. And we actually saw pretty sharp like increase, in amount of users and amount of like Patreon supporters, which like helps us a lot. So there's definitely the return on investment we actually got from that was like even higher than we expected, especially from certain like YouTubers, um, which makes it like if we invest for every dollar like we invest into certain YouTuber, say we get $4 back, or like $6 back. Um, and part of like the reason we also did it is just to kind of see what that return on investment would be, just so we can kind of gauge like what works and what doesn't. And now having that knowledge, and also like having it down for a bit, and we actually saw like numbers go back down. We definitely want to do more of it because it helps the platform. It gets us more funding. And gets kind of more users and kind of helps grow the platform. So there's like kind of stuff coming in the pipeline. I don't want to say super much because I don't know like how much the team working on it like wants to have out right at this point. But yes, there's gonna be more stuff. Next question is Derek Kiovo. Was just wondering something about photon dust. Color range initializer is color X, but color of lifetime starting is color and not color X. Is this intended? So color over lifetime starting. No, actually they both should use color X. That's probably an oversight. Make sure like it's reported, on GitHub, and we can fix it up. Next question. Oh, this is actually Quinlash is responding to Lexivo. I'm experimenting with that. How would I classify it correctly as chat client, if you know? There should be an enum, like whenever you like connect, like there's for a status, there's like like what kind of client you're running. So like I think there's like 4 elements in that enum right now. So we just pick the chat client one. Grand UK, could it be possible to make images in Resonite in formats or exportable bakeable in formats like PNG or JPEG, like painting and canvas kind of thing? Um, I'm not fully sure I understand this question. Like,
Are you asking like if you can export PNGs or
yeah,
JPEGs of things that you paint on a canvas?
yeah. Like, if it's dead, like, you can already do that. Like, you can just, like, the easiest thing is, like, just takes, oh, I cannot quest controllers. You can just, take a picture with a camera and, just export it so that works. You can render to a camera with, you can render to a camera, with protoflags as well. And then you get a texture and you can export it. So you can already do that. If you mean something different, you'll have to clarify because I don't quite understand the question. I'm sorry. Next question, Zenkri Dragon. What are the criteria for choosing a popular but complex feature versus unpopular but easy feature? So we have actually, I probably need like some examples because generally, if there's a feature that's unpopular, I think we're like all less likely to add it. But usually, there's multiple things that comes into prioritizing something. So popularity definitely plays a role. If something is unpopular, there might be other factors. Like for example, is it an accessibility feature? It's something that's gonna affect small amount of users. So it's not something that a lot of people would ask for, but we do value accessibility, which means we might prioritize it on those grounds. Say it's something people have like photosensitivity issues, things like that. Um, we might want to add things to make Resonite easier and more friendlier to them. There might be other things like sometimes we need certain things or we need to do certain things to lower costs. It might be not something that you want, on your end, but it's something that the company needs at the time, or maybe we need it as part of the development process. So that can be another, criteria that we use. Say there's like, things like we see like, the cloud is like taking its cost, like this thing is making the cloud cost like, a lot more than it should, and is eventually going to run into a problem, with our budget. We might need to like, prioritize certain things to lower that cost and fix, the issues that's causing the inefficiency, just to avoid, having financial problems down the line. And it might be, and the work, might be something that people don't really super care about. But if we just left it, and then we started like having issues actually running it, and they would eventually care about it. But sometimes those things need to be like fixed before it becomes a big problem. Um, there's kind of like a lot of things that kind of like that go into this. I do recommend if you go on our GitHub, and there's a big write-up called "How We Prioritize," and it actually goes like into quite a lot of detail into like our kind of prioritization criteria and like how we kind of decide. Um, and there's just generally a lot of things that kind of come into it. If you give me like kind of more like specific example, I could like give you a little bit more, but overall like it tends to be different kind of criteria, accessibility, financial business, like sometimes it's necessary for like our development. Sometimes we do small things, just because it's kind of fun, because we're kind of interested in it, and we need to like have sort of like mental break from working on the big problems. So there's a lot of different things that kind of come into it. But it's kind of hard. It's hard to say like too much in general. Um, but yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question. So if you have like if you like more kind of clarification, the specific examples, I can like give you can give you that. Navy 3001 is asking, what are your thoughts on about using Resonite to build as a game engine and make indie games, including little of experiments like in a game jam? Oh, it's actually one of the things like we want people to do with Resonite. Like, um, the whole idea of Resonite is it's sort of like a blend between a social VR platform and a game engine. It's kind of both. It's like a game engine. You can.
Uh-oh.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
I
Uh-huh.
I think the Wi-Fi is getting like really bad, like because everything's getting really blocky.
Oh
And
dear.
it just kind of. Can you hear me fine still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I usually don't use like Quest Pro, but like okay, it's a bit better now. Like it completely disconnected for a sec.
Oh,
Um,
weird.
sorry, I can't listen. Oh yes, what I was saying. We really want people to use that like way because Resonite it's meant to kind of be like a game engine you can be inside of. Like you can um you can do like anything from socializing to like building whole games and experiences, and eventually we want to offer functionality where you can like whatever you build you can export it as your own thing. That's not going to happen until we switch to our own graphics engine because like there's kind of licensing issues and so on, but it is one of the goals of the platform is you can use it, whatever you want. If you just want to hang out and socialize, that's fine. But also you can use it as a production tool, and you can make experiences and eventually publish those as standalone as well. So we love seeing people use Resonite that way, making games, making experiences, and we've seen some really cool ones as well. Like K3GM, that's one of the kind of good sources of those, especially when they organize, the Metaverse Maker contest. We usually see a lot of really good experiences in those where some of them, they could be an indie game on Steam and people wouldn't bat an eye. It would be yeah, this is fully fledged indie game. So yeah, personally, I love to see it, and I love to see I would love to see people do it more. Next question is from DevHammer. With a new audio system, could we have multiple input-output devices for audio production? Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was talking about earlier, is you'll be able to render out audio to multiple devices from multiple points in the world. For input, you can actually already have multiple input devices right now. You can, stream your audio from any audio device into the world. If you want to, use it for input, some other kind of processing, that it'll probably need, other stuff the audio DSP for protoflags. So you can actually, do stuff with it, pipe it and so on. This is gonna open up more options, but yes, the new audio system is gonna support multiple outputs. For multiple inputs, that's something that's already supported, to some level. If you kind of, clarification how exactly you want to use multiple inputs, I can give you a little more details. Next question from Ozzy. Can I challenge Froox to figure out how to do a photo gesture with quest controls as a funny bit? Okay, let's see. Yeah, this finger's the thumb is kind of making that difficult because it makes it tilt. So I don't know if I can do this. The gesture is designed, for it was designed for the index controller. So
If
but it's
you
also
if you
general.
if you take the hand that's higher and you turn it 180 degrees around,
I
like
had it
the
for a brief frame. I don't I don't know.
some
It's
people will take.
the problem is I can't move this thumb, and this thumb needs to be going this way. So it's
Some people will they'll do the gesture normally, but they'll take their right hand when you were doing that and just rotate their right hand 180 degrees around. So yeah, 180 degrees clockwise. Yeah, like that.
It shouldn't
Oh, you
even
almost
be
had it.
working. No, I'm not gonna do it. It wasn't designed for this. It
Don't
wasn't
worry,
designed for this.
I'll show you tomorrow.
Okay. Zenkei Dragon is asking, how about bug fixes? Popular but difficult versus not popular but easy. So it kind of depends. If it's easy enough, sometimes it's in 5 minutes. I'll see a GitHub thing, and I'm this literally takes it's a single line code change. I'm just gonna do it. Since I've already seen the issue. If it's a complex one, then essentially the more complex it is, the more time kind of is put into thinking, should I spend time on this? So if it's something that's super quick, I see it, I'm okay, this is okay thing to fix. I'm just gonna do it. It takes me a minute, to change this line of code, maybe another minute to write a change log. So those can get fixed quickly. But also it kind of depends because sometimes there can be a lot of them, so it depends which ones we see and which ones are this seems like an important to fix. If it's a popular one but difficult one, it requires a lot more planning because for the really difficult ones, it's sometimes some of the bugs they kind of require complex rework, so we need to kind of overhaul a whole system just to fix a certain bug. So it kind of depends on the specific case. It's kind of hard to talk about this in general because usually the decisions kind of happen when I see when we see kind of the specific bugs. So if it's like a difficult one, we need to kind of like make sure it kind of is planned with the roadmap, and like we actually you know we actually kind of like align it with like a lot of kind of other goals. Um, and it kind of depends. The more complexity there is, the more thinking goes into it, and the more planning needs to happen. Um, but there's also like other flip side, because there can be a lot of kind of small things, but sometimes the small things they accumulate. It's like you know sometimes we end up like in a situation where it's like lots of requests where each one of them is say 5 minutes of work. But say if you have like 100 of them, and you can see a few hundred more coming that are kind of along the same line, that adds up, because that's now 5 minutes times 100. We've got 500 minutes, which is several hours, and then you see like even more, and like it can turn into like several days or several weeks, and it kind of expands. And sometimes it actually becomes more efficient to like not do the quick and easy ones, but sort of like a rework a system as well, because that's not only going to fix those bugs and it's going to improve them, it's going to improve you know hundreds of other things, and hundreds of like other bug requests or feature requests that we could have gotten just get solved implicitly. And sometimes going that way, like it can be a little more efficient. So usually it's like the prioritization is like some combination of like efficiency, the impact on the community, impact on people. The more impact it has, the higher priority. It's almost like the way we can think about it is like it's almost everything, you know, like there's like a score, and like it's not like super well quantified, but like there's sort of like a mental score for a thing. So um if it's easy, that's positive points. If it's not popular, that's negative points. If it's popular, that's positive points. And and it just ends up kind of being like, how do these kind of balance out? So I'd recommend like reading the how we prioritize, because that goes into quite a bit of detail on those. Um, and again, like if you've got like any specific examples you'd also like me to talk about, like feel free to ask about those. Next question from Grandy K. Like imagine a painting canvas, drawing painting whatever on it, and then hitting button to take the colors on it and turn them into PNG JPEG. Hopefully without a camera. Is that more clear? Well, you need a camera to like render it. But
Yeah, I'm
like
pretty sure that's the
you
definition.
don't need like you don't need a physical like prop like a camera like the one we're using. There actually are tools. Somebody made like the sort of um like Photoshop thing. And there's also like the tool by Japanese community where you can actually do that as well. Where I don't know if I have it at hand. They have like the image crop thing that a lot of people use. Do you happen to have that by anywhere?
No, I don't.
I might have it. I think it's like on in Orange's folder. Let me
But
see.
yeah, you kind of do
There's
need to like have a camera to capture the pixels. You don't
yeah,
have to have a live camera. You can make a camera without a render texture and only use it to take pictures,
yeah.
and it will only work with like a render to texture asset. It doesn't have to be a live running camera.
Yes. But you can definitely do that. There's like other tools that do it. I don't know if I can find quick enough for this. Let me check my cold links. Let's see. Orange. Do I have Orange's folder? No. Or maybe it's in the Renium's folder. It's kind of I wish we had workshop, because we could just like search for it easily. I don't think I can find it quick enough. Um, let's see.
Just add a search bar, Froox.
That's not how it works. You need to actually implement search in the backend. Yeah, I wish I could like show you like quickly, but like I don't have like an example at hand. But there's already like tools. There's like this one like where you can drop images and stack them, and then like you set a crop, and then like um, essentially renders out another image, and you can just export it. So like it is already possible functionality, and you can kind of build that. Next question is from Zoomy Deer. It seems that various graphic settings are determined when modifying the world, but could we have option to turn those settings down ourselves if the world doesn't require them for a specific way, for instance, turning shadows off? You can already do that. So let me actually, I'm gonna switch this to smooth POV for a sec, and I'll render private UI. So if I go into my dash, if we go into settings, there's graphic settings, and if you've got a bunch of texture quality options, there's like a resolution, there's how many per pixel lights, shadows, so you see there's shadows in the world right now, and I can be like shadow resolution low. Actually, wait, I think this one, oh, I think this word, oh, I think it's overridden in here. Why is it? Wait, why is it still overridden? This shouldn't be overridden. You can technically override it, but we generally advise people not to unless you really need to. Do you remove the override? Hello?
Sorry, I set it to 0.
0. Okay. Okay, so now it should be taking the settings. So now if I go medium low. Wait, it's not doing it, is it? No, it is doing it. Oh, okay, I'm just blind. Okay. You can kind of see it. I just lowered it and I can change the distance so it's very close or change it very far. Also can be no shadow cascades, which means there's literally no shadows now. We can just one cascade, or well, it's 2 cascades, 4 cascades. Actually, I think none is just a single cascade, so you cannot fully turn them off, but you can lower them significantly. There's a bunch of other settings. So say you don't like bloom, it can just be like view gone. Same like with AO, it can be view gone. Can turn the space. Oh, these are weird. So there's a bunch of options, for graphics that you can use to optimize things. The words they can technically override them too. We generally recommend people not to do it unless there's a specific reason to. That way, everybody's specific settings for the hardware they get into account. So I hope that answers the question. So next one is Grand UK is asking, I have inspired someone to attempt Advent of Code this year in Froox. There's there in Discord if you're interested in solutions. What do you think about it? It's pretty cool. I'm not really fully familiar with what Advent of Code is. Is this do you have to do a thing every
Yeah,
day or every week or?
there's like a cute little coding challenge every day. I think on day 6 they did a cute thing where it's like, oh, make this thing move along, and whenever it hits a wall, turn 90 degrees, and then count every tile you didn't already hit.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
it's pretty cool. It's a good way to get a lot of kind of experience as well. So thank you for inspiring the person to do this. This one's just a question in the
Where?
chat.
Right here.
Right here, here.
Yeah, right here.
Right here, right here, right
here.
here,
Hello.
exactly here.
Right there.
Hi.
Hi. How you
Hi.
doing?
I'm sure that's gonna get clipped.
Yes.
Oh my god. Next thing. Verbandstage? I don't know if I'm supposed to pronounce it in a German way or no. Who is a good boy?
You're not on camera even. Or maybe the preview's wrong for me. Oh, there we go.
On a more serious note, do you have milestones for 2025? There's a bunch of things we'd love to do. I mean, big one is finishing the performance update, getting a big boost in performance. It's currently kind of my main goal. I would definitely love to improve a lot of the UI. I would probably do the custom IK as well. Just kind of a bunch of things that I think are gonna help make Resonite much more interesting, to people. I would love to do more kind of with protoflags, offer people more tools. So there's a lot of things I would also want to do, but sometimes things kind of come at you and you're gonna have to deal with them and so on. So we'll see how stuff goes, but generally those are the areas I would like to focus on. Plus a bunch of small things here and there. I don't usually do have super specific. I have very kind of a rough kind of idea of this is the things I'd like to do, and like then. But it's kind of like usually make the decision at the time, like what's the next thing that should be worked on. We look like what's the most needed right now, and kind of decide, based on that. That way, like we keep things more adaptable, to the situation, rather sort of like predetermining everything ahead of time. Um, Next thing, Hunraj is asking, is it possible to trigger workspace item spawning from user space like the inventory does using Flex? Right now, we don't actually provide any mechanisms for that. There's probably a bunch of like kind of hacky ways to do it, which are advise against using them because they can be prone to breakage, and we don't officially support them, which means sometimes we change things and it will just break, like they just kind of break, and then like you don't necessarily have an alternative. So use those with caution. We eventually want to add like a thing so like it's possible like to do it, but we just need to like make sure we do it properly. Next question is Relash86. The move gizmo is annoying to move in desktop mode, and most of the time in a location that I can't get with my cursor. Ground corner. Could the gizmo be moved to a location that is, say, always in front of me when I'm using it to move large complex items? Oh my god, also thank you, Ghost. Oh my god, there's so many
Oh my
subscriptions.
god.
There's so many. Oh my god, thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my
And thank you so
gosh.
much, Ghost. There's so many subscriptions. Ah,
Holy guacamole.
oh my god. Thank you, Ghost. Now I completely forgot the question. I need to read it again. But thank you for your subscription. And everybody, like, thank us as well. Oh yeah, the moving gizmo in desktop. I'm not for sure what do you mean, like, by this one. Like,
Yeah, if you're holding a dev tip, it goes through walls and stuff.
it should, like, go through everything, so it should, like, matter. One thing I can use is, go into FreeCam with F6, that can make, like, everything easier, because your cursor also goes, into, like, it goes into, like, sort of freeform mode, where instead of, like, the camera looking around, you can actually position cursor, anywhere on your screen, and then, it works more like a traditional editor, so that might help. Otherwise, I probably need to, like, see some kind of example of, like, what you mean, because I don't fully understand. So there's gotta go subscription, thank you. Check the Fox out there. What is a feature you've planned for the future you're looking forward to that isn't really achievable today, but it will become in the future as more systems, say multi-process architecture, for example, are implemented? Oh, one of the things with the multi-process architecture I really want to do is actually make your dash and other things render as a separate overlay. And actually, wait, how long have we been going? I think it's been an hour.
It's been about 1 hour.
Okay. The time is all different because usually this is like I think midnight for me, but now it's like 15 hours. So I'm like I'm done familiar with the time. You know what? I'm gonna this is one I want to talk about with the pen. So let's go over here.
Okay.
I wanna do some sketching. So one of the things once we have the multi-process architecture, and the Resonite is kind of separate. Oh my god, Resonite is separated, into its own process. We can kind of split it down further, and I've been kind of like talking about it as like where I'm just gonna do like a simplified one, but like say you have like Froox engine. So this is Froox engine. I don't like this controller as much. So this Froox engine, and you've got like the renderer. So you get the renderer, and that could be like both like Unity for the time being or Source, and and this is like actually kind of driving this. And this is kind of like making stuff like render on your screen. We can split this off further. So instead of just a single renderer, there's actually another one. And that's an overlay renderer because you can, with Steam VR, you can do overlay apps. So there can be another overlay renderer, and this can be either driven from the same process. So like this can be driving this, like both these, or there can be actually another one, another kind of process for the Froox engine. that is also driving this one. So this one's driving this, and this one is actually communicating with this one. So what the overlay renderer would do is it would render, your dash. It would handle all the kind of general kind of control functionality. And then the main renderer would actually be rendering your world. So when you're when you're in VR, say you have your world, you have you have your stuff, which is the single cube for this, just to keep doing simple. And then you have your dash. You have all your contacts and everything. And this is actually being rendered as an overlay on this one. So this is rendering just the dash. And this is rendering just the cube. So they're technically separate. If we split things this way, what we could do, because both of these are, Resonite, what we could do is we could actually make it so you don't need to run this one. So instead of running full, instead of being in a Froox engine world into being a Resonite world, you have just the overlay, you have your dash. And the other application that you run can be something completely else, like a different VR application. So say, for me, I really like playing Minecraft in VR. So you can literally be running Minecraft, the Vivecraft mod. This is too high. I'm gonna do Vivecraft. I don't think that's readable, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is I'm just gonna do a bunch of blocks, and just make sure it's Minecraft thing. So you have your Minecraft stuff, you're in Minecraft world. This doesn't really like Minecraft, but it gives the idea. And you still have your dash, which means one of the things you could do is you can be playing another VR game and still have all your contacts, and still be able to use the desktop tab and be able to see what people are up to and so on. What would be even cooler is we can actually have the overlay pick up on that, and it's gonna show to your contacts that you are currently playing Minecraft, and they can still message you and do stuff. But this goes even further, because the overlay, it's not limited to just the dash. The overlay, it's a Resonite world like any other, and you can even have multiple of them. So what we could do, we could actually let you build stuff in the overlay. So you could spawn things. And if we add a mechanism where the game you're running, it can actually communicate to the Froox engine and be this is this is the current position in the world, and this is the current state. This is, for example, the current server I'm in. Say it says this is the server I'm in. We could tie that into our system. So we could spawn things, and the things are gonna get spawned in an overlay. So say you spawn some kind of node or something, whatever Resonite thing you want to spawn, you spawn it in, and it's gonna render on top of the Minecraft world or whatever other application. And you could actually be using tools. You could mess around with some stuff, sort of in this augmented reality layer that is Resonite on top of another game. And if you wanna, if you're playing with multiple people, and say you're in the same server, this overlay session can also be synchronized, because again, it's just another Resonite world. It just doesn't have any world geometry. It's just the things you spawn. Which means if you're playing on the same Minecraft server, we can sync that up, and the other people, they will see the stuff you spawned in. So you can literally be playing Minecraft and say you just wanna watch a video in Minecraft for a bit. You spawn it into the overlay. It's, since the position is communicated, we make sure the video's in the same pose for everyone. I should have actually just thrown the video in here. And you're just gonna be able to watch the video in Minecraft, or do whatever you wanna do in the Resonite, but you do it in there. So now you can have that. And now there's a video you can be watching in your Minecraft world. Even better, what we could do eventually with this is make it, since it's communicating, your position in the world, we can actually render your avatar as an overlay. So I can be in micro world, and I can, still look like this. And if other people are running, the same Resonite overlay, they could see you as this as well. And we can have like voice chat, because Minecraft by default doesn't really have voice chat. So like, it can provide like, that as well. And the more kind of, we communicate from this, say for example, we make a Minecraft mod that like, sends information back and forth, the more integrated we can make it. So say when you like, when you're on a server, we can actually make it so you can, through contacts, you can send somebody an invite. And if they have the same mod installed, they can just click that invite, and it's gonna plug, the IP to the server, and they're gonna join your Minecraft world through the Resonite dash. And it's gonna be one thing that's gonna be, possible with that. And the point is, like, it's the game that this is running on top of, it can be anything. Any VR game. So like Resonite can be used as sort of like this kind of like glue layer for a lot of other ones. You could also, funnily enough, you could be running VR chat, for example. So you can be in a VR chat world. So say like, I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna do VRC. So like in VR chat, there's people. You're like, hanging out, and you just wanna work like, on your Resonite items. So you spawn it into the overlay, you open, the protoflags, and you can be messing on it while still being, in the virtual world. So it can be like, here's my, note thing here. I'm like, messing with it in the overlay. And then you save it back into inventory, and when you go back into Resonite, you can spawn it. So same here, like, you are in it, like, you are in the world, and then like, you have like your protoflag stuff that you're like working on, and you can kind of combine Resonite with other applications. And I think like that's something that can be very powerful and very like, interesting, like in a way where it opens like workflows that like I don't think a lot of people like even think about right now. So I think like once it kind of becomes a thing, I think it'll make Resonite a lot more kind of interesting, even to people who don't normally kind of play, because now it offers all this extra functionality for other games. And the more you can also integrate with the specific games, and we would, kind of provide mechanisms to do that, the cooler it's gonna be, and the more capable it's gonna be. Because same thing with Ratchet, if it can synchronize, okay, I'm in this world, I'm in this like session in Ratchet, like it sends that information over, then we can, make it so you can send invites as well, and like, maybe it pipes it back. I don't know, like, what APIs they really have, so like I don't know the feasibility of this, but in general, principle, like it's gonna work. The other cool thing with this as well is because you have the overlay. I know like we should like they use OSC a lot to control things like avatar. You could actually make a thing where you could make some like complex protoflags to script some things, and then you could actually drive it. You can have it send OSC to the VRChat instance. So like you have like a Resonite overlay controlling stuff, in the VRChat avatar or world, you know, instead of like making kind of making the applications kind of more interconnected, and kind of expanding each other. I know like there's actually a particular thing that like Jag made. He made like this facet, because Jag, he hosts the event called Z-Rave. That's every month. It's like the European sort of like rave event, and it's a crossover event. It's on VRChat, it's on Chillout, and it's on Resonite. And they always have like a camera that's kind of switching between multiple worlds. It's kind of meant to be like, this kind of like multi-platform event that kind of, brings them together. And he actually made a tool, like a facet. I think it's using, I forget if it's using WebSocket or OSC, but he made it so he can actually control the streaming from a facet he's on his hand, so he can literally be in the Resonite instance for the Z-Rave, and he's been like, kind of controlling the camera streams, switching between them, and like, switching the cameras and so on, all like, while being in, in Resonite. If we do this kind of overlay thing, people who are running on the, for example, VR chat side or the chill out side, they could have the same facet on their hand while in on VR chat or chill out, and use it to kind of control the stream. So like if somebody builds a tool in Resonite that can help with these kind of things, this sort of overlay layer will make that accessible to other platforms and other games. So this is one of the things I'm particularly kind of excited for, just because like I got like a feeling this one's gonna potentially open like an explosion of possible cool interactions and things that the community is gonna do with this. So I really hope I get to kind of like work on this one, and I think this one's just gonna be like really cool. Like um I don't know what else to say at this point. But yeah, like like once we have the multi-process architecture, like I don't know like if we're gonna do it like while still using Unity, or we're gonna do it after we switch to Source. But I do want to work on this at some point, because I think this could be one of the things that's gonna be really big for Resonite. And it's one of those things like where you know I feel like a lot of people don't even, because like for example on GitHub we get lots of feature requests and so on, but I think it's one of those things where a lot of people don't even think this might be a possibility, like they wouldn't ask for it. But once we introduce it, like people are gonna realize this is opening a lot of new options that were not possible before. And to me, like I really like making those kinds of features, especially ones which led the community, and everyone kind of build on them and make them even more powerful and make them more beautiful, and make like all these kind of cool like interactions that even like myself at this point like I don't even think about, because here's a few examples. But I feel like once this is in, people are gonna make all kinds of cool and crazy stuff that like it's gonna blow my mind as well, even though like I'm the one who like originally designed it. So that's pretty much the thing. Like having the overlay, having a Resonite as sort of like an overlay layer with ability to kind of interact with other applications and other VR games. I think that's the one I'm really looking forward. Like once we have, and just seeing what people do with it and how they use it. So hopefully that answers the questions. Thank you very much. We're gonna go back to the other place. Woo! Hello. Oh wait, where's the chat thing?
I'm bringing it.
Bring it. I don't know the other questions. What do I say? What do I say? There's the questions. Thank you.
There we go.
Yes. Oh, we actually. So next question. I see the ghost like subs like in the thing. So all the questions were before then. So next question is from Devhammer. Continuing from previous. An example is to attach multiple virtual audio mix to multiple actors on stage. Their mic audio could be streamed to virtual audio output with channel for each actor that can be linked to external audio mixer. Would it be possible? Yes. So this one thing I mentioned, with the goal is, so you can technically have as many, inputs as you want. I mean, eventually gonna like run into limits on how much, CPU power you actually have to render all those, but usually I like to make things where there's not an artificial limit. You can, push it as hard as you want, and once you kind of hit the limits of your hardware, that is your limit. But the goal is, you can specify these are virtual kind of like, listeners. I wanna, render the audio, all the spatialization, everything, and pipe it into this output. So yes, that's one of the things we want to make possible. So we just got to the ghost, all the subs. I can show you just on this. Thank you, ghost, again. I'm gonna close these up. There's quite a bunch. Next question. Actually, oh, I don't know what that one is. Groundika is asking. Snopit? I'm sorry, Ground. I don't know what this means.
Schnop it.
Snopit?
It's a Tom Scott meme.
Oh. I don't know that one. Next question is Raj86 is asking. It's always at the center of object. Can you please move it ways to be in front of me? Also, I forget about free cam. It kind of
for the
needs to
gizmos.
be. well, it kind of needs to be in center object because that's the object's pivot, and it's the one like you're going to be moving around. Once we do some more improvements to the Gizmo system, you'll be able to like technically place it elsewhere, but it's also going to change its behavior. Because like if you, for example, rotate object, it's rotating around that pivot. Same thing, if like it's moving and you're kind of snapping into something. Um, so yeah, like it's possible to like move it, but it does change how it behaves. So like I don't know, if that's like what you want. But I do recommend like using the free cam to kind of position in a way so it's kind of easier. Um, oh yeah, I was saying within grabbing range on my hand if I was in VR. I mean, this is the thing is like we cannot really like the gizmo represents where the object is, so like we can't really you know we can like move it without like changing like what it does. The next question is Grand UK. With the overall idea, how will you make sure it doesn't depend on SteamVR for those that use Monado and not SteamVR? Not sure if this is even a worry to have or not. So I don't know how it's overall is work with Monado. We probably wanna. It's one of the things like we need to kind of look into how it's gonna work with different systems. Like for example, if you use Oculus and so on, there might be some limitations. It might only work if you use these certain like runtimes. Um, it's one of the things like where probably switching to source would also help because like I think OpenXR has some more general mechanisms for doing overlays. But like it cannot really tell you super much like on the technical details because it's not something I've delved like deep into yet. Um, so we'll kind of see. But like once we have a system in principle, it shouldn't be too difficult to add support for multiple systems or switch it over. Like the big.
Actually,
Oh, do you
oh,
have the?
sorry.
Yes.
I was gonna say that I actually have looked a little bit at like OpenXR and subsequently Monado, and OpenXR does have I believe it does have a mechanism to do overlays because there is actually
Yeah.
a general like OpenXR overlay app called WLX overlay, and that's what I use on Monado to do like interact with my desktop and have a keyboard and everything.
Okay.
So you can do OpenXR overlays at the very least, so that might
Yeah.
be when that happens then.
Yeah. Yeah, like I know like OpenXR has like something because I remember like reading about like some overall system, so that's kind of good to know is there. And it's part of the standard, so like like once that comes through,
Yeah.
like I feel like a lot of things should just support it. Also thank you for the subscription, Tatsu.
Me
Next
too.
one, Nuki-kun is asking, colliders, do these slot-based interactions that confuse me? We have button grabber, reparenter, user insights, reflex, etc. All these components which are interactions with the colliders, but there's no code on the inspector side which ties these together. How does it work internally? How is it not inefficient? So usually colliders, when like they collide, they actually send an event to everything that's on the same slot. Um, and that's like like it's pretty efficient mechanism because all it needs to do is just like iterate the components on there that have like that implement certain interface and just call a method, which it doesn't really do like any locations on itself. Um, it's a pretty quick thing to do. Like the only thing that will make it less efficient is if you had like lots of like components on a single slot, because then it has to kind of go through all these and be like, okay, this one doesn't care, this one doesn't care, this one doesn't care. Even then, it's still gonna be relatively fast because like it's like a relatively quick iteration. But like usually you don't have that many on a single thing, so it tends to be pretty efficient mechanisms. There's like a bunch of systems that kind of do this thing, like where they will send an event to everything that's on the same slot. That's that's like listening. Next
Yeah.
question is for Sire.
Oh, I was gonna actually add just a tidbit to the previous one, in that like specifically with like colliders and stuff. I believe colliders with things like collider user tracker and stuff, like those will actually register themselves with. They'll actually like register events instead of like receiving events that are always like sent all the time, right?
Well, there's gotta be some that do receive, but like usually those need a reference to it because they need to know like when
Okay.
to register and then register. A lot of systems will just kind of listen to the event because that's kind of the idiomatic way to like do it. Like, you have to check
Okay.
the code, but like I think like the general rule of thumb, if it references a specific collider, then it's gonna be registering and unregistering. If you don't set a reference, then it's probably just listening to the event on the slot.
Yeah.
You have to check the code.
Um,
Um,
in terms of how I'm doing, Nuki, I am doing okay. Slightly anxious because I still have to pack up the rest of my stuff and shower and shave and all that good things before I go to Seattle tomorrow. But once I get out the door, I'm sure I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm doing all right.
so next question is, oh yeah, you should be picking. just skip
Yes.
the shower. It's gonna be fine. It's just gonna smell on the
No.
airplane. It's gonna be
No.
smelling on the airplane.
No.
Nukikun is asking, the interaction I want is with Google Docs suite. I will make spreadsheets and RFF docs in Resonite. Will that be brought in soon? So first, definitely not soon. um, so depends how we want to interact with it though, because like there's multiple ways to implement something like this. The easiest is probably having sort of like a web browser, like that you can kind of embed. So it's just literally running Google Docs, and and then like maybe it's like running like a video stream so other people can see it. Um, the other one is like would it be integrating with some kind of API, so it actually uses Resonate native things to render. That's a lot more potentially a lot more involved. We don't have any specific plans to do that. Um, so if you want like more native support, like that's not really on the roadmap right now, like in a specific way. I was saying like no because things can happen, but like it's not really a thing that would be like on my radar. Maybe something maybe Prime has like more knowledge about because like it kind of deals with the business side a bit. But I would say like the easiest one is just the web browser just rendered Google Docs instead of like re-implementing a lot of the things. Um, Nuke is like, would it be possible? Needs arrays and functions for implementation. It depends. How like, I mean, things are possible. Like, I usually like when people ask like when something is possible. Usually the answer is yes. But the question you should be asking is how much time does it take? Because that's usually what it comes down to. Because some things they will need potentially months of work. And the question is, do we spend if we have like just to give you an extreme example, say like a feature takes a whole year to implement, you know, then it becomes like, are we investing a whole year into this one thing? And if you have like multiple features and each one takes a year, then we can obviously can do only one, in the year. So the question is like, which one are you gonna do? Which one are you gonna prioritize? Um, and it's kind of what these things come down to is like, like is this a thing like we should spend time on? So possible, yes. Depends, exactly how you want it to exist. Um, so Luke is asking, what is that shadow on Froox's mouth? I'm not sure. I don't know which
Oh, that's
shadow
your
they.
that's your whiskers.
Oh yeah, they're casting a little bit thick shadow. Ah. Oh, that makes me look like some raccoon or something. Next questions. Ghost Z36. Eventually, I want to make shooter games in Rezo. My question is, will I be able to somehow program the bullet and grenade physics? Like bullet piercing, for example. Because right now, I don't see any way to make it pierce different materials. Um, and it kind of depends how you want to approach it. One thing that's going to help is, once we have like rigid body physics integrated, because that's going to provide you a lot of kind of tooling for handling a lot of interactions. Um, I don't exactly know what you mean by bullet piercing because like that isn't
I know.
necessarily handled by physics. Like, do you know what it means?
They're essentially, I think essentially basically like a way to like for instance if you shoot a ray cast at a capsule, you know, and you want to make it go out the other side of the capsule and like start from the surface of the other side of the capsule, based on where the ray hit on one side, there's
Yeah.
not really a way to cleanly do that because we can't
Yeah.
really,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Like in that case, like actually one thing that's gonna help is with collections because you can do like a raycast, you know, get like all the hit points, and then like do another raycast from there. So like once we have more APIs implemented for that, like that's gonna help with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Once you also have, like if you have like grain physics and so on, like once you can actually just stimulate like your body, I think that's gonna make a lot of things like way easier. Next question is Alex Booter 23. Is there a way to set the quality for video for YouTube, for example? Because Analytics mostly uses low quality. So you can set the quality, but mostly you can just lower it. It'll try to use like the highest one that's available that's kind of supported. YouTube's been making some changes which made it kind of look out some of the higher quality options. Kind of need to there's like a way to get like a higher quality because like right now what Resonite uses is like it finds whichever is the highest quality that has both the video stream and the audio stream. And usually the way you get the higher quality is you actually get those streams separately and you kind of combine them. The problem is with the video playback engine we use, so far I haven't found a good way to combine two streams together where I tell it like this is one, this is the other, play them in sync. If I found like a way to do that, that would make it much easier to support higher quality options. The other approach is you download the video and use something like FFmpeg to kind of combine the streams into one and then play that. The problem is you need to download the entire video. So like if you want to play a video that's an hour long and say that file ends up being like you know half a gig, you need to download a half a gig before you can even start playing the video. Versus currently, it's actually streaming it. So if you seek around and so on, like you don't need to wait too long for the whole thing to download. Um, so there might be like a way, like we can provide like a button where you press it and it's gonna download it or something, or maybe use some heuristics, based on the length of the video. But ideally, I would want to find a way to kind of combine the streams into like one, but I don't know if that's possible with the current like video playback engine we use. That kind of clears all the questions.
That
Um,
was a lot of rapid fire questions.
there's a lot. Oh no,
Oh
there's more.
boy.
For high quality video options, a finite chunk option could be video, audio player, and object using playback synchronizer. Totally possible, right? I mean, possible, yeah, but like it's not gonna stay in sync, and like that would be really hard to kind of keep it in sync. Because like the playback synchronizer, well, generative video playback, it has a bit of a slag, and the slag is too big for the for audio to stay in sync with the video from that. Like the video, I think it's something could be like 2 seconds. So like you could have the audio be 2 seconds of the video playback, which would be bad. You need a synchronization to happen directly in the video player. So it's kind of because you have like in the audio and video streams you have like actual kind of timestamps, and the video playback engine can match those very closely, so it matches. VT Arxels is asking, has Froox had his daily allotment of hot chocolate? Actually, I haven't had hot chocolate today. I had one yesterday when I arrived. Kai made me like a hot cocoa with marshmallows. It was tasty. Actually, no, it wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago. And I might need to go pester from some hot chocolate. Fuzzy bipolar bear, have you been good boy, or will Santa be bringing you to call? I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to judge. But like like what's the funny thing though, like with the coal thing is because like in Czechia, like we like if you're Northy, you get coal and potatoes, and I'm like coal is kind of like I don't know what to do with it, but like potatoes, I'm like those are delicious. I'm like I want some potatoes. I'll be
Yeah,
Northy for some
potatoes.
potatoes. They're tasty.
Potato.
Potato, mash them, boil them, stick them in a stew.
Yummy.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. And coal to cook them with. Well, I can cook them with coal, but it's kind of. Oh, actually, have you ever had like potatoes cooked in the ashes of a fire? Like you have like bonfire or something, and then like once the fire is out, but like the ashes are still hot, you take potatoes, you wrap them like in a tin foil, and you stack them like under the ash, and they like cook like that, and then you get them out and like you eat it. It's super delicious. That's some of the most delicious potatoes I ever had. I've had it like wild when I was a kid, and I haven't had it since, but it was so tasty. But yeah,
Yummy.
yummy, yes.
Potato on pizza?
Oh, I had potato on pizza. There was like this pizza called patata, and it was surprisingly good. Like it just somehow works. But there's also like the other potatoes on pizza in the form of fries.
No. Blow up. Yeah,
I
where's
don't
my
know.
where's my
I don't want to spawn it here because I'm in the US and I'll just like I'll just I'll get I'll get deported for it.
You get deported.
I get deported. I'll spawn the USA pizza and like this just gonna be like this just gonna come knocking down immediately.
You've spawned the pizza. You've now been deported.
So yes, sorry, I made. Actually, did you make this one or did somebody else make?
I made this one.
Yeah, you made cool particles. Shoot them so the camera can see better how they move around. This is
Yes.
pretty cool.
So, is there like can you get like a wider view or something? I like a view of like over here, like on the floor.
Yeah, let me. You know what? I'm
Okay.
gonna be cameraman. I'm just gonna go like
Yeah, I used the new
How,
particle system to
how does for wider
make.
view?
I used the new particle system to make like a confetti gun, so now I can be like, wee, and they all
That's
like
pretty.
flutter down, and I can like shoot them and stuff.
Okay, hold on. Let me make it. There we go. It's really cool. It looks so pretty. You know what's funny
Yeah.
is like what's really funny what's really funny about this one is like when you showed it, like I thought I was lagging, but it's just the particles, like, and I think like the collisions in this world, like for some reason, like kill the particle system a fair bit. But like I'm still running relatively smooth, and the particles are just kind of going lower, and like they're handling all these collisions. But you actually did like I'm just gonna be running around and you shoot the particles. We.
Oh gosh. Yeah, like go. Wow.
Oh my god. That's so many, and I'm still like, like I'm not dying. That's one of the cool things I like about the system. It's just general approach. This is the general approach, like we can use for design of our system is making them asynchronous. So like if the system itself is chugging, it's just the system itself. Like it's not gonna make you chug, at least not nearly as much as you would have.
I actually have another pretty neat one that I made.
Oh, show.
Is this one? Yeah.
Ooh, that's pretty. That's so glowy.
This is what inspired the confetti, was this glowy one.
Ah, that's pretty. Ooh.
Hmm.
Yeah, people have been
I
making
like
a lot of cool stuff like with the particle systems. I'm just adjusting the camera. There we go.
The turbulence really makes it feel like when I shoot them like near the ground, it's almost like
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
so
windy.
pretty. It just goes.
Oh,
There's a
I have
real.
a I have a really neat one. I think that would be really cool to show actually.
Sure.
So I'm gonna make the moon really big. I'm gonna put it out there.
Hold on.
Okay, and then I'll
Let me switch to smooth POV. There we go.
spawn this one. So this one is pretty cool because the particles will they have a really high exit velocity, but they have negative drag, and they have a really low bounce ratio. So when they hit something, they'll hit it slowly and then speed up again. So when I shoot at the moon, watch this.
Oh, oh my god, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Woo!
This is
like light speed.
Oh my god. It's like we're going to warp or something. I really like this.
Yeah. I shoot it like inside. I'm curious.
I don't want to follow you.
I shoot it like in here.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my god.
Whoa.
What?
Woo!
What? That is so cool.
Yeah, I've lost all my productivity to this particle system. It's so cool.
Oh,
Ooh.
that is so cool. We should like showcase these. Like these are the effects that like they would not be possible before.
Yeah, like they're just it's so cool.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
super neat. I really like this. Yeah, there's like I've been like watching some stuff like people have been posting on like oh my god, this one's insane. Too.
Meow.
Like we're like this oh this is cool. There's all these like new things that are like super neat. Oh my god.
So fucking
Like,
neat.
it's one of the things I always like whenever like like at something new, I always like look forward to like all the crazy stuff people are gonna make with it. And like I've been seeing some stuff, people are posting on social media too, and those are um like, you know, those are super neat. Like people have been making all kinds of like super neat things. That's like the Ripple one. I don't think I have it saved, but the one that Orange posted as well. Like where you kind
Yeah.
of like walk around. I think it's actually published world. Whoa, so pretty. Ah, you sprayed the chat. Yay. I don't like particle systems. Like they like one of my kind of favorite things because it's like it's very simple in like principle, but like you can do so many things with just tweaking a bunch of parameters. Like you can do such a wide variety of effects, and now because we have full control of it, you can add more things, and like you can make like all kinds of like cool effects that like you couldn't do before. I'm very excited.
It's
So like
super cool.
technically it's not like we're still kind of market as experimental because like the some of the conversions not working right. Um, but kind of like one of the reasons like kind of put in systems so people can start messing around with it and making really neat things. It's so pretty. You actually you could you talk about like because you mentioned let me actually switch the camera back to the normal one here. There we go. You mentioned that like you ran some tests for the particle system on headless to see how it performs with net 9 versus mono that's in Unity. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
Oh yeah, sure. So I was with my friend Ozzy in one of their worlds, and it's this big like sandbox map. You can like teleport everywhere. There's a lot of like things in it. The map is like a big, it's like a typical, mesh collider map. And we got to playing with the particle system, and you know, we realized that like it simulates on the headless too, since it's actually within like the
Yes,
engine now. It actually simulates on the
it's
headless.
ours.
Um, so we were like, huh, I wonder how like .NET 9 compares, with the particle system. And so we made a simulation of about 4,500 particles, and we tested without collisions on. Um, the client was running at about 2.5-ish milliseconds per frame of simulation of the particle systems, and the headless was running at about 230 microseconds per frame. So that's already pretty good. Then we turned on collisions, uh, and the headless jumps up to like 7.2, 7.5 milliseconds or so per frame, and then the client jumps up to 80 milliseconds per frame.
Uh,
Uh, so that's across the board over a 10 times improvement in the
yeah.
the simulation time of the particle system. So if you were excited for .NET 9, get a little bit more excited.
Like there's, I mean, it's kind of like in line with like a lot of the kind of very early tests that I kind of did like a while back, where a lot of the math heavy stuff, like it would be somewhere around like 10 times faster with like modern .NET compared to like mono. And particle systems are one of those things that's very heavy math based. And it's also kind of written to take advantage of a lot of like stuff in like modern net, like it's using spans a lot to kind of access the buffers and so on, and kind of looping over those, and so it is very
Yeah.
exciting. Just kind of see like how well it performs. Plus the other thing I think that helps it is like with the collisions is the Beppo physics because like right now Beppo physics with like under mono it's kind of crippled a little bit like because it's really worth it to take advantage of the modern one. So just having runtime, I think that makes the collision itself also like way faster.
Yeah, a lot of Beppu and stuff is it relies on um what are called
Vectorization.
like yeah, like vector intrinsics and stuff, which are they're special instructions in your CPU that let you process multiple values of data at the same time in true parallel. Like actually, even on a single core, you can process, like 4 or 8, floating point numbers and stuff like at a time. And Beppu makes heavy use of that, and that's why it's so fast.
Yeah.
But in Mono, we just don't have any of that. It just doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. It just like executes it naively. I mean, it's also like one of the things, people always like, whenever it comes to performance, people always like multi-threading. But there's like one thing I keep telling people, there's lots of ways you can improve performance. And oftentimes you want to look how can you improve performance on a single thread, like, before you can get like the multi-threading. Because with multi-threading, you have like, more kind of synchronization you need to do and so on. And not all types will work very well. Uh, but a really particle system that's one of those, that takes advantage of both because it maximizes, how much you do on a single core. Because on a single core, it processes multiple, multiple values at the same time. But also we have multiple cores doing that, so you get like, you get like way more kind of out of that. So that's like
Yeah,
very exciting. Like I think like the modern net is also like good at like doing sort of auto vectorization. So I think even some of the photon does stuff like it just automatically kind of gets like vectorized, and that kind of
yeah,
accelerates it a bit.
especially if you're using spans, because spans
Yeah.
in more recent .NETs are very heavily incentivized for like vectorization when you do
Yes.
optimize or operations on them. Rather,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons like for any like newer stuff like tend to use like a lot of span stuff. It's like just like way more performant and like with the current like mono like we're not really like we're not like fully um we're not really like what's the word we're not fully like taking advantage of it, but it's kind of being done in preparation because we know we are making the move. um there's also like the other thing like with the particle system is um actually wait, I forgot what I was gonna say with it. um I kind of forget. Oh, I remember. So, like, one of the things we also can do once we do switch, to the nine, we can actually also add, custom vectorization. Use like, uh, the SMI, the intrinsics, to add like extract even more performance because we cannot use those features right now because they're not available in mono. So once we do make the switch, we can squeeze out even more performance out of stuff.
Yeah, because we use kind of like our own implementation of stuff like Vector 3 and Vector 4, like Float 3,
Yeah.
Float 4, and whatever.
It's in part because like the actual vectors one like they're not really vectorized with the version of mono, so like they're slower
Yeah.
and don't have everything we need. Anyway, it's very exciting. So the next question we have is from Zenkri Dragon. Oh, we actually I think we answered on. Have you ever had potato on pizza? Yes, it's surprisingly good. Like if it's not the USA pizza, it can be good. The next one is DJ Prodigy Hunters. Do you have plans to add more badges? Always, always more badges. It's gonna be I'm sure it's like one of those Resonite things. It's just more badges. We're actually had like some talks about like more badges for more things. Just so people can have more badges. This needs to be more. People like their badges. And Prime needs he needs more.
More.
Sometimes it's just kind of question of time because like I know there's like some things I would want to get us badges for, but like we haven't had the bandwidth to like make those. Um, but I feel that's one of the parts of Resonate kind of culture in a way. So yes, more
Hmm.
badges. Next question, Alex Booth 23. Can FFmpeg be used for conversion for a high quality? So I talked about it earlier. The problem with that one is yes, you can use it for conversion. The problem is you have to download the whole video first right now, at least like to my knowledge. Um, and with that is like if you um if you're watching a long video, then it might take a while before the video is playable. So this is a possibility, but there's a downside to it. What we do need to happen is, make the conversion kind of happen on the fly as it's being streamed. And right now, I haven't found an approach that would work yet. Next question from Jack the Fox Author. Also we got the raid. I cannot read that one either. I think it says Griffin Phyllis.
Let me see.
No. Yes, no.
That says Griffin Phyllis, yes.
Yeah, it's Griffin Phyllis. Thank you so much for the raid. There's a lot of people. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, there's a lot of people. For everyone coming in, this is the Resonance. It's sort of like, a combination of office hours where you can ask any questions about Resonite, whether it's technical, how the platform is going, its philosophy, its past, future, whatever you want to ask. Just make sure add a question mark at the end of, at the end of your question. That way it pops up on our thing. We also do like a little bit of kind of rambles, kind of like going off tangent and giving more high level view, of like Resonite and its development, where it's going, where it's been and stuff like that. So with that, the next question is, we only have like 15 minutes left, so there's probably not super much more time, for questions.
We should probably close questions at this point, honestly.
I mean, there's only I only see like two, so like, as long as, there's time, like we'll try to answer as many as we can. I just want to give people like, a warning. Depending on the questions, we might not be able to get to a question at this time, depending on how many pop in. But the next one is Chuck the Fox Author is asking, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of Resonite is built around procedural meshes, and those will be benefit heavily from Net9 as well. I think so. I think they should benefit. I mean, in general, Net9 should make everything faster, like overall. So it kind of depends on which part. Like, I don't know if you did any specific testing with procedural meshes, but I do expect to get speed up as well.
I imagine that, so probably just from the raw, optimizations of naive number crunching, some auto vectorization, it would help. But I think what would probably really help more is if we actually specifically used system numerics primitives to generate the assets if we really wanted to make them speed up. But I think that'll help no matter what.
It's one of those things you have to benchmark it. So and we don't have any specific benchmarks because it might when I did some testing even the float 3 we have they actually got vectorized for something. So it might just well, it's one of those with performance you have to benchmark things. It's kind of hard to speculate about them.
Yeah.
Also procedural in general. Yeah, it's gonna depend.
You could test it yourself.
Procedural texture. You can those can also because it's literally just looping over a buffer, so that can speed things up, but it's gonna depend on specific case. Next question is Oran Moonclaw. What is the biggest driver behind memory usage on the headless? I've noticed it can be quite high if you go to some people in a session. So it kind of depends. I think we would have to kind of profile things to see where the memory is going. One of the things that can take a lot of memory are the assets in the world. So if you have some textures, meshes, and so on, sometimes those need to be loaded into the memory, for certain kind of purposes. So that can take a bit. But that's just kind of speculation. We would have to really profile specific cases and see what is using the message, because it's kind of is hard. Like I mentioned earlier, with performance you don't want to speculate. There's been a lot of times in the past where I was this is not performing as well, and I was I think it's happening because of this reason, and they actually use the tools to measure, and I'm oh, it's something completely else, and then I fix that and it's fast, and the thing I thought it was it wasn't at all. So generally with performance profile, and then
yeah.
And I haven't done any profiling recently on that one, so I can't really say super much in detail.
Yeah, and sometimes performance increases they can be kind of funny sometimes, because I was well, this certain function I'm writing, in one of my projects, it's not running so fast, with all my span slicing going on, and so I was okay, well, maybe I'll just I just tried using pointers instead. I was okay, I'll encode this thing and I'll just point at the pointer directly, and it turned out to actually be slower. And what sped it up was actually putting the span slicing in different functions and marking them as aggressive inline, and that made it faster. So it can be just these really wacky things that you don't even think of that make the thing faster.
Compilers can like they're very complex, and the rules they know they can apply they can be complex, and sometimes like if you're getting really down the wire with optimizing, a lot of it ends up being doing a bunch of A/B testing and seeing is this thing faster or is this thing faster. But it also gets more complicated once you kind of use some things kind of because you can also you can optimize for example single function, single operation. But then if you have like multiple things running because they all share the resources, you actually can have some other things slowing other things down and kind of triggering like some kind of weird behaviors, and you can get like these weird kind of cascading issues where something runs fine in isolation, um but once you kind of combine it with some other functionality, it starts showing up some performance issues, or it's not even a performance issue, it's just kind of like ends up doing a lot. One of the examples I actually like to use is, consider the, find child in hierarchy node, which lets you find, a slot with a particular name in this hierarchy. And say like you use it every frame. And it's actually been a thing, like, because I think we actually got a report on this, where somebody was like, it runs fine in an empty world, but in a complex world, it takes a lot. And we're like, yes, it's inevitable because like you're essentially when it's looking for like solver particle name, it needs to search until it finds it. And if your world has if your world has like say 5,000 slots, it only needs to search 5,000 slots. But if your world has 500,000, then it needs to search that 500,000, like assuming that it doesn't exist, it doesn't find it sooner than that. So there's a lot of things like that. They're gonna scale depending on the context and the data you run them with. So sometimes if you test something in isolation, you might not discover some problems until you use it in a different context, and that's a thing that happens a lot too. And that's usually why I say like performance is very complex, and usually there's not a single silver bullet for things, and there's not a single thing that would fix everything. And there's usually not even a single cause, for performance being bad. It tends to be lots of things. Um, but the problem is like it kind of makes it hard to explain because it's very fuzzy, and like usually you have to do a lot of kind of like profiling to measure things and see where the performance is actually going, and it takes doing that takes time and effort. So it's a pretty kind of complex thing to talk about and to work with.
Yep.
We've got about 8 minutes left. So like if there's like a few more questions, I think we could like field a few more. I don't know, like we can like talk about like it's gonna be holidays, in the upcoming days. So I hope everyone like kind of looking forward to.
Yeah.
Are you getting anything cool for Christmas? Do you have any plans for New Year's? I mean, I know what you're doing, but I'm just kind of asking the chat in general. And it's gonna be a lot of people here. Like I know there's a bunch of things. Oh, we're gonna be watching the Sonic movie as well, the new one with Keanu
Yeah, I
Reeves
heard.
as Shadow. I know like
That's cool.
there's a bunch of like Sonic fans. I have like my Sonic socks and shirt and underwear. I'll have it ready for the movie.
Sonicked up to the teeth.
Yes. The only thing I don't have Sonic pants and hat. I don't really wear hats, but
Oh man, I'm gonna have to fit my
Sonic needs Sonic arm
yeah,
warmers.
Sonic arm warmers. Oh man, I'm gonna have to bring my arm warmers. I'm gonna have to bring my I'm actually bringing my whole PC with me.
Oh my. I have my laptop, but like my laptop is more powerful than my desktop. I'm like running on it right now. I really like it. It's been serving me well.
Yeah, you've
So we've got a fuzzy bipolar berry saying, I have two Czech friends visiting over for Xmas. I'm going to cook them a full traditional Swedish Xmas dinner. Ooh, what is actually in Swedish Xmas dinner? Like I don't think I've heard of it one before. But that's kind of cool. People from Czech.
mm,
That's where I'm
cool.
from.
Whoa.
Except I'm in the US for the holidays.
You've been checked in.
I've been checked in. I checked in. Oh my god, it was a funny thing. I was going through the customs, and they like usually ask you a bunch of questions. And actually, this time I got a fair bit more questions. And I told the immigration guy about Resonite because he was like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, like I have a startup, like I'm a software developer. And then he's like, what do you do? And like, what does a startup do? And we're like, oh, we're developing like virtual reality software called Resonite. So I was like, can cross off that off my list, like I told one. One time when I was going for MFF, like I think 2 years back, I was going through immigration and I was like kind of expecting, kind of a bunch of questions as well because I was in the US earlier as well, like earlier that year, and like twice. And I was kind of expecting to kind of ask about that, and like, I get to the counter and I'm just, hello, and like the guy's like, are you here for the furry thing? And I'm like, yes. And then he asked me, are you a furry? And I'm like, yes. And he asked me two more questions, and he's like, okay, you have a good time. And I'm like, never in my life I thought I would get asked, are you a furry? By like U.S. immigration, like customs, like officer. Like I think like like they kind of started like laughing at me when he kind of asked me because I was just not expecting that at all. So
That's pretty good.
now I wonder if it's somewhere like in U.S. government records is like a record like for that's official.
Uh-huh.
It was fun. But yeah, now I got to tell them about the Resonite.
Yeah.
Next one is Ultramando Lagarto. This is great questions. Will you learn how to do a backflip for when Resonite hits 10,000 followers on Twitch? I probably wouldn't because I would probably hurt myself. Like I'm very clumsy, so like I even like when I'm just around, like I tend to like hit corners of everything. I stub my toes all the time. Like Glitch wants to wrap me in bubble wrap, so like I don't think that would be a good idea. I could do something
Mo-
else.
Most of a
Could
programmer's dexterity is in their fingers, not the rest of their body.
I also thank you for a subscription, 1V. Maybe
Yeah,
I could do
thank
something
you.
else. I'll do something like I'll eat like the hottest chip thing or whatever. Maybe I don't know. Come up with like a different challenge like that doesn't involve but for like potential permanent injury, and I'll see.
Yeah.
Nukikon, what are you here for? Got invited to furry convention. Yeah, big tourism and commerce event, you're good. Well, the thing that was also funny with that one is like he was the one who asked it. Like I didn't even tell him anything. I just said hello, and he's like, "Are you here for the furry thing?" I think it's because like there's so many people like coming over, and I guess like like look like I go to one, so like he just started with that. Snooper's asking, when are we allowed to get up Froox to go to the store? Um, in 2 minutes. I'm actually staying at Snooper's place. Also, hello, Snooper. I
See you tomorrow, Snooper.
don't know if it's coming through. Is it coming
No,
through?
it's not. No.
It's coming through! Do you want to come up to say hi? So next one, this might be a quick one. So Griffin Phyllis, I heard from some friends where Resonite is saying performance improvement that will help with frames is pulling out another part of Unity, which is unable to use something called Mono. I think I remember it right. Along with this and custom shader system, what else will bring some performance improvements? I don't think we have time to answer that one. I have
Mono's really old and
superhero
slow.
thing.
New .NET is really fast. There you
Yes,
go.
I don't know if it's gonna help. There's a separate video on our YouTube channel, so I recommend checking that one. We covered it in one of the previous ones. Nukikun, what does Syro do on the team again?
I give Froox a lot of headaches and PRs.
Yes. Sarah's our engineering intern. Actually, well, now you're graduated.
I'm a little graduated. We'll figure out the details at some point.
Yeah, we figured the details, but yeah, Sarah's work on the engineering team, so he's like working a lot of the code stuff and so on. Anyway, with that, like we have like literally the last minute left, so thank you everyone, for your questions. Like thank you, for supporting Resonite. Thank you for watching. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for making cool things, making super cool stuff with the particle system. I hope that. Oh my
Oh,
god,
sorry. Oh
you
no.
blinded, you flashbanged the audience.
Ah.
Um, and also my train of thought. I hope people have been like having a lot of fun with the new system. There's
Yes.
there's a lot more kind of cool stuff coming in. Um, so and I hope everyone is gonna have like a lot of fun holidays, have like fun New Year's. Also, like we can do one before New Year's. I don't know how it works out. We'll figure stuff out.
Yeah.
There might be one, there might not be one, so we'll see how that works out. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you. I hope like you have I hope you have fun holidays, have kind of cool presents, cool stuff. And if we don't see you by then, have a good New Year as well. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time, which might be maybe this year or maybe next year.
And here's a holiday gift from me.
Good take, Colt.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
I can't find the stream button.